All right. Ready for a deep dive into something you probably don't think about too much?
Let me guess.
Flies.
Oh, flies.
Interesting. Yeah, we're going to uncover all those fascinating facts about flies you never knew. Our main source.
Oh, okay. What is it?
This YouTube video just called simply Facts About Flies.
Sounds intriguing.
It's really interesting, but I gotta admit the video's kind of all over the place.
Ah, I see.
So we're gonna break it down for you, pull out the good stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, maybe bust some of those myths we all believe about flies.
I think people will be surprised by what we find.
For sure.
Let's start with that age-old idea. Flies only live for 24 hours.
Oh yeah, I always thought that. Like they just live life super fast.
It's just not true.
Mm,
Some species might have short lifespans, but
yeah.
houseflies can actually live for weeks, even months.
Wow, seriously. So that fly in my kitchen might be older than my bread starter.
Quite possibly. And they must be doing more than just annoying us, right?
Definitely. So what are they up to?
Well, their habits are surprisingly varied. Like, did you know that their sleep patterns are different depending on the species?
No.
Some are active during the day, while others come alive at night.
Wow, so like, are you a day fly or a night fly?
Huh. I'm more of a day fly. What about you?
Definitely a night owl.
Hmm.
Burning the midnight oil, just like some of those flies, I guess. Wait, where do they even sleep?
Well, the video suggests they prefer dark, secluded places.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just like how lots of people enjoy a dark, quiet room to sleep.
Yeah, everyone needs their beauty sleep. Okay, ready for another myth to be busted?
Hit me with it.
So we always think of flies as loving dirt and decay, but that's not the whole story, is it?
Not at all. Some flies actually feed on nectar from flowers.
Really?
Yeah, they're important for pollination, just like bees.
Huh. So they might actually be helping my garden grow.
Exactly.
I never thought of it like that. Okay, but let's be real for a second.
Go on.
There's a reason they always seem to be around as humans.
You're right. It all comes down to carbon dioxide.
Ah, our breath.
Yes, flies are super sensitive to the CO2 we exhale. They use it to find food or even places to lay their eggs.
Okay, that's why they're always in my face.
Hmm.
It all makes sense now. All right, you ready for this one?
I think so.
Flies can actually feel pain.
Yep, that's right. They have a nervous system, although different from ours, that allows them to sense pain.
Wow, that's pretty wild. I mean, I'm not going to stop swatting them anytime soon, but
Right.
it does make you think twice. Like they're not just mindless things.
Yeah, it raises some interesting questions about how they experience the world. I think we often underestimate insects.
Definitely. So besides holding our breath, what can we do to keep those flies away?
Well, the video has some good tips. Apparently, flies really hate certain smells.
Okay, like what?
Things like cinnamon, peppermint, lemongrass, even just lemon.
Wow, so instead of harsh chemicals, just make my house smell nice.
Exactly. A much more pleasant solution.
I like it. Speaking of scents, want to talk about how flies eat?
Go for it.
Fair warning, might be a little gross for some listeners.
Okay, I'm prepared.
So their mouths, they're basically like sponges. And they use digestive enzymes
Yeah.
to break down their food.
It's not a pretty sight. They basically throw up digestive juices onto their food, then just soak up the liquefied mess.
Okay, I think that's enough of that visual.
No,
But it does make you appreciate chewing, right?
absolutely.
Take it for granted. Okay, so we've talked about eating, sleeping, even feeling pain. What about fear?
Fear. That's a good question.
What do flies fear?
The video suggests that since we're always trying to swat or spray them,
Yeah.
they might actually be afraid of us.
I mean, can you blame them? Imagine constantly being attacked by giant hands. Scary.
So what about other fears? Like spiders, maybe?
Could be. The video also mentioned this experiment where they found flies are really drawn to sugar,
That makes sense.
doesn't it?
Who doesn't have a sweet tooth? Okay, but with all this buzzing around, eating, and being afraid, when do flies actually sleep?
It's a bit of a mystery, actually. Really?
The video suggests maybe dawn or midnight, but there's no definite answer.
It makes you wonder about their internal clocks, how they know when to sleep and wake up.
It's a fascinating area of research for sure.
It is. All right, are you ready for the most surprising fact?
Lay it on me.
Flies fart.
What?
I know, right? I swear I've seen a bug fart before and it blew my mind.
Well, you might not be wrong. Apparently flies, like lots of insects, produce gases like hydrogen and methane. It's just a part of their digestion.
So they barf on their food and they fart. Nature is something else.
Haha, yes it is. It's all part of the amazing, complex web of life. In a strange way, it makes them a bit more relatable, right?
Totally. We're all connected in this crazy, gassy way.
Perhaps. I think we've delved pretty deep into the world of flies today.
We have. And I gotta say, I'm looking at flies in a whole new light now.
Me too.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Exactly.
There's so much more to uncover about these amazing creatures.
For sure.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our fly deep dive.
It's amazing, right? How much we can learn from something as common as a fly.
Absolutely. Like, they're everywhere. But we hardly give them a second thought.
There's a whole world of complexity hidden right there in plain sight.
Totally. And speaking of hidden complexity, can we talk about fly vision for a second?
Their vision. What
Yeah.
about it?
I mean, have you ever tried to swat a fly? It's like they have a sixth sense or something.
Aha, right. Their vision is incredible. They don't have two eyes like us. They have compound eyes.
Compound eyes. What's that?
It means their eyes are made up of thousands of tiny lenses.
Thousands. Seriously.
Yeah, and each lens captures a different part of the image, so it's like having a mosaic of visual information.
Wow, that's wild. So they basically have built-in surround view, like a car.
Exactly. And that gives them an incredibly wide field of view.
No wonder they're so hard to catch. They can see us coming from every angle.
Yep, and it helps them navigate, avoid predators, all that.
Speaking of navigating, have you ever seen a fly make a mid-air U-turn? I mean, how do they do that?
It's all about their wings.
What about them?
They're super thin and flexible, which allows them to beat incredibly fast.
How fast are we talking?
Up to 200 beats per second in some species.
200 beats per second. My heart would explode. Okay, changing gears a bit, let's talk about fly reproduction.
Ah, yes. They're known for being, shall we say, prolific.
That's one way to put it. So how many offspring are we talking about?
A single female fly can lay hundreds of eggs in her lifetime.
Hundreds. That explains why they seem to multiply overnight.
Exactly. It's why fly populations can grow so quickly, especially in the right conditions.
So that explains all the flies buzzing around my fruit bowl.
Mmm.
But there's got to be a reason why nature designed them this way, right?
Absolutely. Remember, flies are decomposers.
Decomposers.
Yeah, they break down organic matter, which returns nutrients to the soil, so it's vital for the ecosystem.
Okay, so maybe they're not all bad. They clean up the yucky stuff.
Exactly. Not the most glamorous job, but someone's got to do it.
True enough. But you know what else is cool about flies?
What's that?
Their legs. I mean, they can cling to almost anything.
Their legs are amazing. They have tiny claws and sticky pads that allow them to hold on to almost any surface, even glass.
Wait, seriously, how does that even work?
It's because of microscopic hairs on their feet that secrete a sticky substance. It gives them incredible grip.
So they're like tiny little Spider-Mans. It all makes sense now.
Nature is full of these incredible designs, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, let's go back to that experiment with flies being attracted to sugar. What does that tell us about their senses?
Well, it shows they have a very developed sense of taste. They're extremely sensitive to sweetness.
Which makes sense. I mean, sugar's a great energy source.
Exactly. And being able to detect it quickly helps them find those valuable resources.
So they basically have a super sweet tooth.
You could say that, but what about their other senses?
Yeah, like can they hear us talking about them? Planning our next attack?
That's a little more complicated. They don't have ears in the traditional sense,
Oh!
but they do have sensitive hairs on their body that pick up vibrations in the air.
Okay. So they can sense when danger's coming.
Exactly. And let's not forget about their sense of smell.
Right, like those natural repellents we talked about?
They use their sense of smell to find food, mates, even avoid danger.
Okay, so we've established flies have incredible vision, they're amazing flyers, and their sense of taste and smell are top-notch. But here's a question that just popped into my head.
That is it.
Do flies have any kind of social intelligence? Like, do they talk to each other?
That's a good question, and scientists are still studying it.
Interesting.
There's some evidence that they communicate through pheromones.
Pheromones?
Yeah, they're basically chemical signals. Flies release these chemicals into the air to attract mates, warn about danger, things like that.
Wow, so it's like their own secret language?
You could say that. We're only just beginning to understand how insects communicate, but it's clear they have a much more complex social structure than we might think.
It's incredible to think about all this happening right in front of us. I mean, we usually see flies as annoying pests, but they're capable of so much more.
Absolutely, and that's what makes science so fascinating. It constantly challenges our perceptions and shows us the hidden wonders all around us.
I totally agree. We've already learned so much about these amazing creatures.
And there's still more to come.
We'll be right back with more surprising fly facts in part 3. We're back, ready for the final part of our fly deep dive.
I am. Are you ready for more fly facts?
Oh yeah, hit me with them.
Okay, well, let's go back to that whole fly sleep mystery. The video wasn't super clear on when exactly they get some shut-eye.
Yeah, it left me with more questions than answers.
Right. There's a lot we don't know about fly sleep. The video mentioned dawn or midnight as possibilities, but we need more research to really figure it out.
I can only imagine scientists trying to study that. Like, okay, little fly, bedtime, no more buzzing around.
Haha, right. But seriously, how do they regulate their sleep? Do they have internal clocks like us?
That's a great question.
Well, that's where the idea of circadian rhythms comes in. Flies probably have these internal clocks too, just like humans.
Okay, so they might not be sleeping in tiny fly beds, but they're still on some kind of schedule.
Exactly. It's amazing how much complexity there is in these tiny creatures,
It
right?
really is. And it kind of shows how connected all living things are. We might look different, but we share some basic biological stuff.
Totally. Speaking of shared experiences, can we talk about fly flatulence again?
Oh, you mean the farting?
Haha, yeah. That fact definitely surprised me.
I mean, I've seen a bug pass gas before, but I didn't know it was actually a thing.
Well, remember, flies have a gut microbiome, just like us.
A what?
A microbiome. It's
Yeah.
basically a community of microorganisms that help them digest food.
Okay, and what does that have to do with farting?
Well, those microorganisms produce gas as a byproduct. That's where the hydrogen and methane come from.
So it's not just a random funny thing, it's science.
Exactly. It's just a natural part of their biology.
Hmm.
And in a way, it makes them seem a little bit more like us.
True. We all have our quirks, right? Okay, but in all seriousness, this deep dive has been amazing.
I agree.
We learned about their incredible vision, their flying skills, their senses, even their social interactions.
It's incredible how much we can learn from something so small.
Absolutely. Next time I see a fly, I'm going to look at it totally differently.
I think that was the goal. To appreciate the complexity of these creatures we often ignore.
Well, mission accomplished.
And remember, there's always more to learn, even about something as common as a fly.
To our listeners, keep exploring and keep asking questions. You never know what you might discover, even in your own backyard.
Well said. And remember, even the tiniest creatures can teach us big things about the world around us.